The moment Jamal Rivers stepped into the courtroom, the energy shifted. Dressed in a tailored charcoal gray suit, his quiet dignity stood in sharp contrast to the narrative the prosecution was determined to push. Jamal, a 38-year-old environmental engineer and small business owner, had been falsely accused of orchestrating a chemical dumping scheme near a low-income neighborhood. The local district attorney's office, eager to crack down on corporate polluters, targeted Jamal after tracing the registration of a contracted transport vehicle back to his company without further investigation. From the outset, Assistant District Attorney Stephen Kinley treated the case as open and shut. In his opening statement, Kinley spoke as if the verdict was already written. Mr. Rivers was the name on the paperwork, the name on the trucks, and now the name on the charges. Jamal, who had chosen to co-represent himself alongside his attorney, remained silent but focused. What Kinley didn't know, what he hadn't bothered to consider, was that Jamal had spent the last 3 months quietly assembling a defense that would expose both the flaws in the state's investigation and the depth of his own expertise. By the third day of trial, Kinley seemed smug. No expert reports, no forensic support, no credible witnesses, he said confidently during a motion to the judge. Then Jamal stood and respectfully addressed the court. Your Honor, the defense would like to call its first expert witness. A ripple moved through the courtroom. First came Dr. Emily Torrance, a chemical toxicologist from MIT, who testified that the chemical signature at the dump site did not match any products ever transported or stored by Jamal's company. She displayed clear graphs and lab comparisons. Next was Thomas Becker, a forensic accountant, who demonstrated with financial audits that the subcontractor who owned the actual truck in question had forged documentation to hide illegal dumping and had no formal ties to Jamal's operations. Then came Professor Aisha Langford, a nationally recognized environmental policy expert, who explained that the region's enforcement protocol often disproportionately targeted small minority-owned firms with weak evidence. By now, the jury was visibly engaged. Even the judge leaned in, clearly impressed by the depth and clarity of each presentation. Finally, Jamal called Dr. Lionel Wu, a digital systems engineer who traced GPS data from the supposed dump date. The data showed Jamal's truck parked miles away at a storage facility, complete with security camera footage and time-stamped logs. The prosecution tried to object, but the evidence was overwhelming. A.D. Kinley's posture slumped. His narrative had crumbled. The man he had assumed to be just another guilty face in the system had instead orchestrated a scholarly, bulletproof defense. When Jamal finally took the stand, he spoke with quiet composure. I have spent my life building something honest, he said. I refuse to be dismantled by assumptions. The jury took just 2 hours to return a verdict, not guilty on all counts. The courtroom burst into a round of spontaneous applause, not just for the verdict, but for the remarkable display of dignity and brilliance that had unfolded. Outside, reporters huddled around Jamal. Why bring in 4 experts, one asked. He smiled. Because truth needs more than a voice. It needs evidence. Civil rights advocates praised the case as a stunning example of what happens when a wrongly accused individual refuses to be silenced. Jamal now speaks across the country on scientific integrity and racial bias in environmental regulation. And the prosecution? A.D. Kinley quietly recused himself from future environmental cases. The city has since opened a review of prosecutorial practices involving minority-owned businesses. As for Jamal, he's back to running his company. Stronger than ever, his name cleared not just by argument, but by irrefutable proof.